Alright, Robbie, say hi.
How you doing?
So I'm just gonna help Robbie record. This is gonna be for the 1000 giveaway on the Nova Scotia Bushcraft webpage. He's actually gonna be teaching me how to sharpen my axe and my knives.
Alright, first thing you want to use is a honing oil. I always use Lansky honing oil. I like it. It's a lightweight. Another thing that you can use is sewing machine oil. A little bit cheaper than Lansky, but it works exactly the same. Whenever you're using a puck in
what about mineral oil?
Mineral oil is good,
really
but
it
has a tendency to break down man-made stones.
Okay.
A lot like the vegetable oil that we were talking about earlier, because a lot of the stones aren't true stones. They're not ground stones.
Yeah, they're porous.
Yeah, it's a forced material, and so what ends up happening is that it becomes almost like a penetrating oil, and a penetrating oil is meant to break things down, not to build it up. And
yeah, like WD-40.
Yeah, exactly. Don't spray WD-40. I see it done all the time. A lot of people will put WD-40 on their blades. This is fine. That's great for long-term storage, but don't use it on a puck. Just a couple drops. That's all it takes. Now we're doing a little bit of rough work, so we're going to go with the rough edge. This is a new stone. And really all you're doing with the oil is you're making it so that the particles that come off of your blade don't adhere to the stone, because eventually what you're going to end up with is something so smooth that all it's going to do is make a nice little buffered polish. It just makes it easier to keep clean, and a lot of times I'll rinse it off with warm water afterwards and just let it dry out. Again, there's about a 45-degree angle on the edge. Gives you an idea. You put that up against it. You want to cut that roughly in half. So that's the edge that I would like to have. Circular motion, front to back. Always maintain that same angle. Puck's probably one of the safest ways of sharpening. I've seen files done. I've also seen people lose fingers using a file. Unless I had an actual notch that needed to be taken out, I wouldn't use a file. We have one here, and if I was going to use a file, I'm not going to use a 12-inch file. I'm going to use a 6-inch file. I'm going to use a medium to a fine file, and I'm going to use a one-sided file. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I don't want to remove huge amounts, and I don't want it to get hot. All I want to do is just take out that burr. Now what I would normally do, and I prefer to use dry axe with a file, take your file, again keeping the same all the way across. You're going to keep that 25 to 30-degree angle for a hatchet or an axe. You don't want anything as fine as a 20 or less. You're not cutting, for the most part, you're not cutting meat.
Yeah. You only want to go one way too, because the file only cuts one way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're always going straight into it, and you're going to follow along. You're always going to do it a certain number of times, because what's then going to end up happening is you're going to end up with one-sided hatchet. So if I do it 5 times on that side, I flip it, and I do it 5 more times on this side. Now if you notice, I'm not taking a whole lot off with that. because honestly, this is much more labor intensive than this.
Yeah.
But that is going to do the exact same thing, but I'm doing it in a circular motion, so it's never removing the contact. You're actually maintaining a greater contact. So what's going to end up happening is you're doing 3 times the work for half the effort.
Yeah.
And as I said before, I was in management, and I know all about how to do things. Get 3 times the work without doing any sweating doing it.
Yeah.
And again, what we're trying to do here, we're trying to raise the distance of your actual cutting edge back a little bit for the uses that you're going to have it for a finer cut, a sharper cut, something that's not used for splitting wood. If we were splitting wood, this puck would be at a much greater angle. I'd bring it right up to about a 30, and as opposed to the 20-25, and I would bring it closer to the tip of the actual blade. The reason being, you want that to push the wood apart, whereas what we're trying to maintain is more of a cutting edge, almost like a blunt knife,
yeah,
so to speak.
Now with that too, are you counting how many times you go around the circle as well, or?
I am, but it's not as detailed. It's more of a time thing than
Okay.
anything. So you would do, say, 30 seconds one side, 30 seconds another side.
Okay.
Because it's a constant, you don't have that. It's
Start
more of
and
a
stop
time
and-
thing.
yeah.
It's because it's constantly in contact. As opposed to this, it's 1, 2. See what I mean? The other thing about a file is you will feel every imperfection with a file that you will not feel with a Lansky stone or with a puck. I can tell you where a burr is, so I know where my issue is.
Yeah, it's a chisel. The file bites into it.
Exactly. It's a lot like when you're testing your knife and you want to see what the bevel is, and you feel the little scrapes. Like, I know it's sharper right here, but it's not very sharp right here.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about that little pick that you feel. If you were to actually look at the blade under a microscope, you'll see it's on the end. You've got this almost like burrs, even on the finest of blades. It's about how much you can get those burrs in together, and that becomes a part of the stropping process. Again, we'll go over that a little bit later, but what you're doing there is you're trying to bring all those burrs together into a nice even way, as opposed to out there. Even when you leave a hatchet, you could have it perfectly sharp, 100%, and be able to shave with it. For example, like a really nice knife, you can take the hair
off your arm.
Yeah. And that's all good, and you could put it away in a room in a sheath for 2 months, and you go to take it out, and you can't even cut through a piece of paper, because it's almost like you used it to sharpen a knife, or to sharpen a piece of stone with. The reason why is because that very tip, if it's not treated with some kind of oil, starts to rust.
Yeah.
And it's called micro rust. And that micro rust is just like a bloom on the edge of that blade where you've sharpened it, and what you actually end up having to go right back to the beginning and take all that off, and it makes an awful mess. Hard to see with the naked eye, but it's one of the worst things you can do to a knife is put it away with a little bit of oil on it. Always oil your blade. This back here, if it gets rusted, we can always scrape that off.
Yeah.
This, you gotta start from scratch. You gotta put a whole new blade on and a whole new edge on it. Alright, so what do I like about the group? 1,000 subscribers. Trying to think back how far it's been since I joined, and I know that we weren't even near the 500 people mark, and I had been on probably easily a dozen different groups, and I come across this one group, Nova Scotia Bushcraft, which I'm thinking there's got to be like 4 people in this group, but it's closed, so I'm going to try and be.
Well, it is Nova Scotia.
Exactly, and I'm born and raised in Nova Scotia. I'm a Nova Scotia boy, and I'm thinking I don't remember ever running into any bushcrafters, but
is that a thing for Nova Scotians? Nova Scotians, Mohawks?
Yeah, that's a valley thing.
That's a valley thing.
That's a valley thing. Everybody in the valley wears mohawk somewhere on their body, and so the big thing was that it was like Nova Scotia. You walk into someone's kitchen, because that's where the front door is, and you sit down and you start talking, and you may never have met this person, but you just felt comfortable enough to just sit in their kitchen and talk to them. And that's what I got from Nova Scotia Bushcraft, and that's why I stayed with Nova Scotia Bushcraft, because it didn't matter if there was a kid in the room, it didn't matter if there was grandpa was in the room, no offense, Stan, but everybody was welcome in that kitchen, and that's Nova Scotia Bushcraft. That's what it's all about. The fact that Lawrence had designed this website where everybody could ask freely any question that they might have, and within minutes at any given time of the day, because yes, there are some of us that actually get up on there at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I'm a victim of that.
Exactly. Just to see what's going on, who's on there, and somebody will have answered your question. Not once, but 10 times. And within those 10 times, within those 10 answers, you've gotten 10 different subcategories of a detail of the question that you asked. So you ask for a little bit of information, you get a book every time you ask, and you get it in a way that's fun, it's friendly, and we all get a chance to laugh. And the only thing I think that the site needs now is it's more green thongs. I think everybody needs green thongs, and I think there's a business to be had in green thongs.
We're gonna make them out of slip nylon.
I'm thinking leather, because that's more of a bushcraft thing, and I've tried the natural cordage.
Maybe we'll get Jamie to help produce them.
Thank you. I've been trying to get Jamie to produce them, but it just doesn't seem to be happening.
We just don't need Peter from FF Bushcraft in there.
No. Love you, Peter, but stay out of my underwear drawer, buddy.
Any closing words?
That's it. That's all I got.
All right.
I'm back to sharpening.
All right.